We bring you the latest on today's celebration of our 122nd year of independence. This morning, key government officials held a flag-raising ceremony in Kawit, Cavite, where our independence from colonial rule was proclaimed 122 years ago. For the details, Greg Gregorio joins us live. Greg, how did the event go?
Sean, our celebration of the Independence Day this year is quite different from what we've had in the past because, as anticipated, some restrictions were made for the event as we continue our battle against COVID-19. Unlike the usual crowd, only 100 guests were allowed entry within the premises of the Aguinaldo Shrine. These already include the members of the Philippine National Police, Army, technical staff, and media. For VIPs, only 10 were allowed inside. Among those were Cavite Mayor Angelo Emilio Aguinaldo and National Historical Commission of the Philippines Commissioner Emmanuel Calairo. Mayor Aguinaldo led the flag-raising ceremony, followed by the wreath-laying. The program started earlier as opposed to the announced 8 a.m. to avoid the hassle from a possible rain. The event lasted for just around 20 minutes. In an interview, Mayor Aguinaldo said it is important to celebrate the country's independence amid the pandemic. As many of us are asked to stay home, Mayor Aguinaldo added that this may serve as a reminder of how freedom must be valued. He called on everyone to embody the same unity that our ancestors had to achieve freedom. In our case, freedom from the pandemic. Meanwhile, NHCP's Calairo said unity could also mean everyone joining the nation in following health protocols. This year's theme is also in honor of our medical frontliners. Aguinaldo and Calairo were also asked if we are really free 122 years since the first time the Philippine flag was raised. Aguinaldo said we are not totally free because of the pandemic and other issues, such as the anti-terror bill, which needs further scrutiny. While Calairo said freedom is relevant, but when it comes to terrorism, it has to be defined as clear as possible. Let us listen to their statements.
May konting akong kaalaman tungkol sa anti-terror bill. Pero syempre, tungkol po dyan, minsan di natin masabi, minsan may ibang mga bills na aabuso ng iba po. So, kailangan pag-aralan natin maigi yung...
Politically, no? Sasabihin natin, malaya tayo. Talagang malaya tayo. Pero marami kasing interpretasyon eh. Ang kalayaan is always relevant, no? Meron tayong collective independence, meron tayong individual independence. So it's always relevant and it's always be a practice in the Filipinos.
Sean, authorities say that while demonstrations are still prohibited, one can still take part in the celebration of the Independence Day. The NHCP encourages everyone to put up a Philippine flag in your homes and utilize social media in joining discussions about the relevance of freedom. Sean?
Thank you, Greg Gregorio, reporting to us live from Kawit, Cavite. And with COVID-19 still looming, the commemoration of the 122nd Philippine Independence Day in Manila was strictly by invitation. Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea led the flag-raising and wreath-laying activities today over at the Rizal Park in President Duterte's stead. The ceremony was limited to only 10 guests due to the Interagency Task Force's directive. In a recorded address, the president honored the forefathers' bravery, heroism, and sacrifice. He added that Filipinos are grateful for them for the gifts of democracy and freedom. And in the spirit of unity for our freedom, the president also calls for unity in the battle against the coronavirus.
As we wage united battle against COVID-19, we now have the opportunity to demonstrate that we possess the same gallantry of spirit and the nobility of character as the heroes of our past. Let us now move forward with courage, hope, and optimism as we overcome this pandemic.
And the Land Transportation Office is the latest to jump on the new normal bandwagon as it is set to launch its online processing system next week, still in hopes of preventing people from flocking to their offices amid the pandemic. Gerard de la Peña with the story.
The Land Transportation Office Diliman branch is always teeming with people trying to get licenses or getting their vehicles registered despite the ongoing general community quarantine. Denmark, who is trying to get his first driver's license, is anxious because the COVID-19 pandemic is far from over.
Natatakot din po, okay, nandun na din po, pero normal na lang po eh. Kailangan din po namin kasi lisensya eh.
To prevent people swarming their offices, the LTO is set to launch its public transport online processing system next week. This would allow cashless and contactless transactions at the agency. LTO Chief Edgar Galvante says the initiative has already started in some LTO branches even before the pandemic. LTO aims to reduce the need to go into their offices to minimize risk of spread of COVID-19.
Pero ang isang kagandahan nito, pag fully implemented na, ang laki-laking convenience sa mga magtra-transact. At para sa LTO, isang tulong ito para makatupad dun sa pag-observe ng social distancing. Kasi mababawasan yung actual na pagpunta sa LTO at mag-antay para makompleto yung proseso.
The online platform will allow anyone to do applications for renewal of license, requests for revision of records, and requests for certificates of no apprehension or even pay fines. Aside from the LTO, those who have transactions at the Land Transportation Franchising and Regulatory Board may have their appointments booked at the agency's websites. Meanwhile, the LTO will start giving out the new license plates for motorcycles next week for registered motorcycles in Metro Manila. The LTO says around 15,000 plates have already arrived and will be printed at its own plate-making facility next week. Motorcycles will now have two color-coded plates, depending on the region where they are registered. The new system for motorcycle license plates is part of the implementation of Republic Act 11235 or the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act. Motorcycles from other regions will get theirs in the coming months. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
We'll be back with more stories after a break. Stay with us here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. There is no stopping militant groups from staging what they call a mañanita protest to mark our 122nd Independence Day. Marlene Alcaide is reporting to us live from UP Diliman. Marlene, how's it going so far? Are there protesters? How's the weather? And are there authorities there watching?
Sean, the pandemic did not stop Filipinos from expressing their views on various issues. Kung nakikita nyo nga, kahit umuulan, nandito sila to commemorate this year's Philippine Independence Day. Several youth groups and other organizations are holding their own versions of what they call Mananita Protest today. Just like the usual Mananita Party, Anakbayan Youth staged parlor games at the Commission on Human Rights this morning. They prepared Filipino outdoor games such as Tumbang Preso and Chinese Garter. Among issues at hand is the railroading of the controversial anti-terror bill in both chambers of Congress. Anakbayan Youth Chairman RJ Nagit says the parlor games represent how the government stifles free speech in the country.
We're actually doing this on Independence Day through a mañanita protest. Kasi 'di ba sabi nga nila, pag mañanita pwede, pero pag protesta hindi raw. So ngayon ay creative natin pinapakita ang ating pagtutol dito sa pagsagawa ng parlor games protesta.
Meanwhile, in UP Diliman, a grand Mananita protest is underway. Environmentalists led a unity bike ride to call for the rejection of the anti-terror bill. Participants wore masks and observed social distancing during their program. Also among the early birds is the Kilusang Magbubukid ng Pilipinas. They say they are just exercising their right to express and oppose the anti-terror bill assembled. Sean, the grand Mananita protest here in UP Diliman will begin in a few. Some participants have put markings on the streets to ensure that social distancing will still be observed. And as you can see, there's actually a lot of people here right now. Pero kahit na umuulan, may ilang mga kanya-kanya kasing kanya-kanyang grupo, ano. So may mga iba't ibang grupo na nagkakaroon ng maiksing programa at maya-maya ay magsasama-sama sila doon sa may harapan, ano, kung nasaan yung mas maraming Pilipino. Pero dahil umuulan, marami yung sumilong muna sa ngayon. Sean?
All right, thank you very much. We will be watching events over at UP Diliman right alongside you, Marlene Alcaide. Former DICT Secretary Eliseo Rio stands firm that the StaySafe app has yet to prove its effectiveness. In an interview with One News's The Chiefs, Rio says the contact tracing app has not proved a single successful case, and yet the government is putting its whole trust in it.
I already started questioning, is this effective? Because up to now, they could not show a single case that of a positive COVID positive person that was traced by StaySafe. All tracing, ngayon lang sila nag-a-action, ngayon lang nila tinitignan yung technical capability.
The former DICT chief adds that the Interagency Task Force for Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, should have considered other systems beside the multisys developed one.
So parang itong dating a private company now is being depended on by the interagency rather than the Department of Information and the ICT, Information and Technology, Communication Technology. Na by law, we are the one mandated to take care of all ICT system of the government.
Pagbigay alam din po sa DSWD kung hindi po natin mabibigyan ng tulong. Now, dahil nga po dito sa nangyari kay Michelle, meron na po tayong bagong polisiya na tutulungan ng gobyerno.
On Thursday, presidential spokesman Harry Roque announced that the government will own data from StaySafe. He adds that there is now a memorandum of agreement between private developer Multisys Technologies and the DOH on data ownership and intellectual property.
Kinilala ng IATF na kailangan ipagpatuloy ang contact tracing at i-maximize ang paggamit ng StaySafe PH. Ang function ng StaySafe PH application ay dapat limitado sa collection ng data, habang ang lahat ng collected data ay dapat i-store sa DOH COVID Kaya System. Gobyerno na po ang magmamay-ari ng datos, wala pong ibang maghahawak niyan, gobyerno lamang.
And on the weather, it is a wet and rainy Independence Day for some areas in the country as Tropical Depression Butchoy maintains strength. Pag-asa said Butchoy was last spotted some 50 kilometers west of Iba, Zambales. It has maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour with gustiness of up to 70 kph. Signal number 1 is still raised over Zambales and the western portions of Pangasinan. These areas may experience moderate to heavy rains moderate to heavy with at times even intense rains. Pag-asa also warns of possible flash floods or landslides. Butchoy made landfall twice in Quezon Province on Thursday before heading westward towards the West Philippine Sea. It is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility by Saturday morning. Meanwhile, photos from the Philippine Star show the flooded streets of Manila. Pag-asa says the NCR will continue to experience rains in the next few hours due to the trough of Butchoy as well as the Habagat or southwest monsoon. For more updates, follow News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis, or also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Just register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao, and we are One News.